Hey everyone, and welcome to Pursue Hunting. If you're a coyote hunter, a predator hunter, or a hog hunter, and you've been considering venturing out and trying some nighttime hunting, then this product review is going to be of interest to you. Because today we're going to be reviewing the KL41 Plus. It's a rechargeable LED nighttime hunting light that's gun mountable, made by a company called Odepro, ODE Pro. Now, some states allow for nighttime hunting of certain game species. For instance, here in Illinois, you'll need to check the regulations to get the exact dates, but roughly from November through March, we're allowed to hunt coyotes 24 hours a day. I myself in the past have always done my coyote hunting during daylight hours, but this year I wanted to venture out a little bit. I wanted to try some nighttime hunting. So I also didn't want to break the bank, so what I did was I picked up a KL41 Plus off of Amazon. Cost me less than $100. So what we're going to do is I want to show you what's all included with the KL41 Plus. We're going to go over some of its features and how it's used. I've also shot some nighttime footage with this so that we can compare the different LED lights and the beam distances for it. And then lastly, I want to wrap things up and I want to go over what I consider the pros and cons for the KL41 Plus. So let's get right into it. The KL41 Plus comes in a durable storage case. It's a plastic storage case. It's got good heavy hinges on it. And it's, it's something that's going to be able to take some abuse and still be very protective of the unit and the product itself. The other thing that I like about the case is that when you open it up, it's foam lined and has pre-cut product pockets so that if this does drop or it does take some abuse, that foam's going to pad this. It's going to have extra protection for the product. Plus it puts everything in a nice organized way. It's not a case where everything's just in there rattling around and banging around. That's nicely organized and protected, which is a great feature. So past the case, let's look at the main unit. The first thing you notice when you pick this thing up is that this is not a cheap piece of plastic. This is precision machined aircraft aluminum. And you can hear that it's nice and solid. It doesn't have any vibration. It's just a nice solid piece. The light itself is black. It's got a satin finish or a matte finish, so it doesn't have any high glare areas to it. And then right here is where your LED is. These are interchangeable. The one that's on the light itself is the red LED. And as you can see here, there are no markings on this part of it. That's how you know it's the red one. It also has an infrared, a green, and a white LED. The white LED actually has a couple more options than what these other three do, and we'll go into that just a little bit later. The power switch for this is on the back. It's a simple press down on, press down off. So nice, just easy click, easy click. If you want to, you can replace this. If you're going to have this gun mounted and you want the pressure switch, that's right here. You can take that power switch off and replace it with this. This has an adhesive here that you can mount to the side of your gun that has Velcro attached. And so with this, if this is attached to your gun, you would press down for on and hold, and then when you let off, it's off. So it's not a click on, click off. It's hold down is on, let off is off. So you have a pressure switch option. And then the light is powered by a lithium-ion battery. You actually get two batteries with it. They're rechargeable. So you do have a charger with it. You also have a warranty card, an instruction booklet, and you also have a couple replacement O-rings because this is waterproof or water resistant. And you have some O-rings that protect the battery from any water. So if you're out in the snow or out in the rain, this is protected on the inside. Past that, it also has two mounting options. It has a scope mount where you could put your scope right here and your light up here, and it's just an easy unscrew and screw to loosen and tighten it. And then if your gun has a rail system, it also has a rail mount. And of course, a little Allen wrench that goes with that. So that's everything that comes with it. But what I want to do is I want to show you how this interchanges. So let's go over that now. Okay, as I'm getting ready to do this, I realize I left something out. This also has a lanyard with it. And how that fits on is that you can just slide it through one of these right here in the back end, bring it around, run that through, and just as easy as that, your lanyard is connected. The section of the KL41 Plus are pretty simple. You have your power switch in the back, which simply screws off. Next is your battery compartment. And one of the nice things is they have a very large icon of which way the battery runs in there. Some products you get, you have a little bit of inscription somewhere inside there you can never see. But you have a nice large icon that shows you how that is. The battery compartment comes off just as simple, just like that. Your next section is your LED light, and that also just unscrews. And then the last is your light tube. So those are the 4 sections of the light. Like I said, the power switch can be replaced with a pressure switch if you'd like, so that can interchange right there. Your batteries will go in here, and there again you have 2 rechargeable batteries. It only requires 1. So your other one you can keep in the case and put in your pocket if you're on a hunt. And then also your charger goes along with that. Past that you have the LED section. The one here, like I said, is red. You'll notice that there are no markings on the barrel of it. That's how you know it's the red one. Past that you have a green, and you know that because it is labeled on the barrel as green. A white, also labeled on the barrel. And lastly, an infrared, which is also labeled on the barrel. Some people might ask, why do we have an infrared? Well, an infrared would be for somebody, let's say you had an infrared scope, or you were filming a hunt at night and you had a night shot ability on your camera. That's where that would come into play. You can't see it with the human eye, but if you have a device that can pick it up, it's helpful, and it's a really nice option for this. So that's the 4 different LEDs. Their lifetime expectation is 50,000 hours. So there's a lot of life in there. And then past that, of course, like I said, there's the tube. Your spare O-rings, they would go here and here if you needed to replace either one of those. That's what the spare O-rings are for, to keep that waterproof. And then, like I said, then you have the 2 different style of mounts, depending on how you want to mount it to your gun. Now, before I get any further, there's something that I want to bring up. Sometimes when you buy a product, there's things that are overlooked, or there's things that aren't thought about, or there's things that are kind of important, but you don't really realize it when you first see it. To me, these little things and the little case for the batteries are very important in this product, because if I'm going to go on a hunt, let's say I'm going to go out on a coyote hunt, I'm going to have the red or the green light on my gun, but I also want to take the white light in case I need to do a recovery. Well, the white light, I'm not going to take the whole case out. I'm going to take the white light in its little case, and I'm going to take my spare battery in its little case, and I'm going to have them both in my pocket. And both of these, there's no rattle and banging around. They're nice and quiet, and they're protected. So no scratches, no damage. It's something that's so simple, but it does extend the life of the product itself. So even though these things seem insignificant, they are pretty important to have, and it's really nice that they're included. Now, I'm going to put this back together, and we're going to show you how this thing works. One of the things about this is, as I go to put this back together, is that, you know, everything fits very nice. You know, there's no question where the threads are when you put this on. I mean, you just there, and you can feel it snap in. You can feel the O-ring when you hit that. It tightens up a little bit, and you just go a little bit farther. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to Drop a battery in here. Positive goes in first. Just tighten that right on. So there's our red light right there. Simple on and off. If you wanted to change the battery, you would just unscrew the power switch in the back. Pop the battery out, put a new battery in. If instead of wanting to have the power button on, you wanted to switch over to this, once again, goes on nice and easy. And like I said, this is a power, or this is a pressure switch. It's not an on and off, it's a pressure. So down is on, up is off. Down is on, up is off. Now, just so you know, if you're in the field and you want to switch an LED, they do ask you to take the battery out before you switch the LED. So what you would do is you would unscrew this. Take your battery out. Then you can just unscrew that and one more. You would put this in its container so it's taken care of. And then I'm going to throw the green one on here. That goes on. That goes on, and you can see there's really no effort in putting that on. Battery slides back in, positive end in first. I'm going to put the switch back on it. And then just lastly, tighten that down. And now you have your green light on and working. So as far as changing out the LEDs and changing out the batteries, it's really simple. It's nice because you don't have to have any tools or anything. It's just simple, unscrew it and screw it back in and she's ready to go. So when it comes to the different LEDs, your green, red, and infrared all work the same way. It's a simple one punch for on, one punch for off. So it's just on or off, that's the only option. The white, however, has 5 different options on it. It has dim, medium, bright, strobe, and SOS. And to cycle through those, instead of punching all the way down for on or off, you're going to do a half press. So dim, half press medium, half press bright, half press strobe, half press SOS, and then go through them again, half press dim, half press medium, half press bright, and I want bright, so then I punch it all the way down to on, and now it's on bright. I can leave it on for 3 or 4 seconds and that will set it. So if I turn it back off and then I turn it back on, I'm back on bright. If I don't want it on bright anymore, I turn it off. I do a half press for strobe, half press for SOS, half press for dim, and then I punch it all the way, and now it's on dim. Leave it on there for 3 or 4 seconds, punch it off, punch it, it's back on dim. So that's how you cycle through, and that's how you set what setting you want your white LED to be on. So the battery life actually depends on which LED color that you have in there, and it also depends on what the beam distance is going to be. Now, according to the manufacturer, the white will last for 1.1 hours and should reach a distance of 420 yards. The red will last 2.5 hours and go 240 yard distance. Green should last 2.5 hours and should reach a 300 yard distance. And the IR should last 2 hours, but they don't list a distance because the distance isn't dependent on the light, it's dependent on your IR device. To attach your scope mount, you simply unscrew to loosen it up. Get enough distance in there that you can get it over your scope, and so that you can place the light in between on top, and then simply tighten her back up. when you have it on there how you want it. And then just like that, your light is mounted to your gun. So to give you an idea what I did with this outdoor footage, I'm actually using 3 different cameras, and if you know anything about shooting video at night, each camera is going to pick up the light a little bit different. So what I did is I took my camera that would be the most consistent, which was a Nikon with a 50mm lens set at a 1.8 f-stop, which is the widest, most open setting that I could get on that camera. And what I did was that I set that about 10 feet away from my target that I was looking at. So I had my decoy rabbit at 100 yards, and then I took Bert the hippo and I put him at 200 yards and also at 240 yards. Also at each distance, I put 2 reflectors, and then I also ended up, when I did the 240, I put 1 reflector at 240 and another reflector at 300. That way I could judge roughly, you know, if I would be able to pick up eyes or anything at that distance. So at 100 yards, it really didn't matter if I used the red, the green, or the white. At 100 yards, you're gonna see what's there at 100 yards. There's no doubt about it. Easily picked up the reflectors, easily picked up my rabbit, and you know, it's just shows you that it truly is a nice bright light on all 3. So 100 yards isn't a problem at all. Now, when we start reaching out to 200 yards, I had Bert out at 200 yards with the reflectors, picked up the reflectors with no problem. As far as Bert goes, in my opinion, the red picked up Bert good enough that I could get a shot at 200 yards. To me, I thought the green was a little dark. I'm not sure with the green if I'd be reaching 200 yards with it for a shot. And the white was right along those same lines. Now, as we move out to the 240 and 300 yard markers, one of the things that I noticed that you can really tell on the video is how wide of a beam this casts as it moves out there. It easily picks up the reflectors at 240 and 300 yards. But at 240, the amount of light that all 3 lights shone on Bert, I just thought there was too much fall off. I don't think I would be really comfortable with a shot over 200 yards, which for me isn't a problem because average shot in Illinois, I was talking to Dave about it and he told me average shot in Illinois is usually about 75 yards. So this light is more than sufficient for that for me. So to wrap this all up, let's just go over the pros and cons. I'm going to start with the cons first because I really don't have that much bad to say about this. The couple things that I have is the lanyard. I have relatively large hands, so fitting this lanyard over my hand to my wrist, it's kind of on the small side. I wish that this had a little bit more room to it, especially if I have gloves or something like that on and wanted to do that. So I feel that the lanyard just needs a little bit more room, which isn't really a big deal. The other thing that I don't care for is the pressure switch. And there's 2 main reasons. One is I'm a believer that there's no place in the hunting woods for Velcro on any product. I always think that there should be a better solution than that. I mean, if I was to use this, to be honest, you know, I could put hair ties around it or something to hold it in place instead of something that's going to stick to my stock and then have Velcro rip back and forth. So Velcro is always a no-no to me, so I don't like that. And then the other thing that I don't like about this is that I don't like the pressure switch. I would have preferred that this was an on-off switch so that I click it and it's on. And then later when I want it off, I click it and it's off. I really don't care for the thought of this being up on the forearm of the stock. And when an animal's coming in, I have to hold it down and put pressure on that the entire time the animal's coming in until I'm going to take the shot. I would, like I said, I would just rather it, you know, click on, click off and be done with it. So to be honest, the pressure switch, I'm probably not going to use this when I hunt, At least starting off, I do not plan to because of those two things. I'll just mount it on my scope and have the on-off switch on the back. As far as the positives for this, when it comes to the price point, which I paid, which like I said was less than $100, it coming with 4 different LEDs, which I prefer the red the most. Green would be second, white would be third. Of course, I don't have a infrared device, so I didn't try that out. But for the amount of hours, the amount of usage that I'm going to get out of it, I'm more than happy with that. On top of that, it's just a great light. And even though it's marketed for coyote hunting, if, you know, I turkey hunt in the spring and sometimes we turkey hunt out of blinds, having a green light to walk into the turkey woods or getting your stuff set up while you're in the blind instead of having a bright white light is great. Going to the deer woods, I would probably have the red light on it in my backpack, and I would also be carrying the white LED in there as well, because this is a great blood trailing light. It's nice and bright. You're going to be able to definitely see what's there. So it has other uses just other than just coyote and hogs and stuff like that in nighttime hunting. So the purchase to me is kind of a no-brainer. I'm happy with the product from what I've been able to test it over the last few weeks. I will be starting to hunt with this probably mid-December and on. And when I do that, I'm planning to film it. So if there's other issues that I come across or whatever, I'm going to be able to tell you guys about it. And on top of that, you guys are going to get to see some video where we actually use the product, and you'll be able to judge a little bit better then. But all in all, like I said, I'm happy with it. One other thing that I'll say is that every hunter there's different levels for every hunter. There's different experience levels. You've watched the hunts with Dave. Dave's got 30 plus years of hunting coyotes. I've got like 3, okay? And that's not to say I'm a bad coyote hunter. What I'm saying is that as I progress through this, maybe I will get an infrared scope, and I'll rely on that more than I'll rely on this. But this is a product that starting off will work good for me now, and then even if I had an infrared scope, I would still end up using this to shine for eyes or what have you. So this is a product that even if I progress in things and progress in equipment, it's still an item that I'm still going to be able to use down the road. So like I said, overall, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. And as I said, as time goes on, we're going to show you some hunts with it, and we'll see how it performs then. So other than that, I hope you enjoyed the review. Thank you for watching the video. If you just happened upon the video and you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit the like or subscribe button for me. That does help me out. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.